Hey everyone, Mrs. McCoy here from Stony Hill School, math coach and interventionist. I'm here today to talk to you about benchmark fractions, specifically a half. But before we begin, I just wanted to talk to you about what benchmark fractions are. Benchmark fractions are the fractions that we use to help us to order, compare, or measure other types of fractions. So if we're unsure, we can always think about, well, is it greater than or less than a fraction that I know? And typically our brain definitely can visualize and understand half, and that's why we're going to focus on half today. But also there's others like 2/3, 3/4, and then many of the unit fractions like 1/3 or 1/4, or even things like 1/8 or 1/16, which are really tiny, tiny pieces, because we would find those on a ruler. So if we think about a ruler or even a measuring cup, that is typically where you would find benchmark fractions. So an example that I have here also is I have 3/4 in purple, but underneath that I have something that looks equivalent, 12/16. And typically that's not how we speak. If we're talking about something, I wouldn't say I ate 12/16 of a pizza. I would technically say I ate 3/4. So again, it's that idea of benchmark fractions being those fractions that we feel that are common, that are ones that are easy for us to relate other fractions to. So today we're going to compare fractions using the benchmark half. So I have half here. You can see I have a circle with half shaded, but I also have 4/6 and 5/12 off to the side, which are the first two we're going to compare. So I'm going to just drop a couple circles here. I'm going to do one with 6, and I'm going to add one over here with some 12ths. I'm going to just drag those over, and I'm going to just quickly just shade in my 4 and my 5. So right away when I'm looking at this, if I'm thinking about half, like at 4/6, half being this line right down the center, I can see that there is one piece that's greater than that half. So 4/6 is greater than a half. If I come over here and I think about this being the half line, it's actually missing a piece. So it is, less than a half. So when I can also, actually, before I go any further, I can even drag them over just to kind of compare them. You can see here, less than a half. I can drag this one over really quickly, and you can see way definitely greater than that half. So quickly, I can tell that 4/6 is going to be bigger or greater than 5/12. So I'm going to take my little piece here. I'm going to put my greater than sign. So let's swing over to 3/8 and 2/3. So again, I'll do a circle with some thirds in it. Kind of drop him over here. Do one more circle with some eighths in it. Drop that right over here. And let's just quickly just do some shading. So I'll do my 3/8, and then I'm going to do my 2/3. So again, when I'm thinking about if it's greater or less than, I'm going to bring this over here. Oh, I can clearly see this whole half is colored in. I'm missing one little piece. So I could say that 3/8 is definitely less than a half because it's missing that one piece. On the other hand, I have 2/3 here. And if I'm thinking about this being half, if I draw my arrow straight down, whoa, there's almost like a whole extra piece right here. So this is greater than half. So I can actually say now that 3/8 is less than 2/3 because 3/8 is less than a half. So that was right the first time. Let me just put that little piece there. Oh, and then Mrs. McCoy totally made a mistake. Half, right? We're all human. So let me just go back and fix that for us because I do not want to confuse anybody. So sorry about that. I put the greater than sign the other way, which we all make that mistake, right? So let me go back and just fix that because 2/3 is the greater one. So it should have been that way. So if I'm reading the statements, I now have 4/6 is greater than 5/12 because 4/6 is greater than a half. 3/8 is less than 2/3 because 3/8 is less than a half. On the next slide, what you're going to do is think about the fractions that you see and drag them to the box and tell me whether they are equal, greater than, or less than half. Have fun.